Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. In this video, we'll be discussing Severus Snape, his ability to fly, and exploring the question, was he a vampire? We don't see or hear about vampires too much in the Harry Potter story, and the following blurb from Pottermore gives us a brief introduction to the topic. Although vampires exist in the world of Harry Potter, as shown by the literature that Harry and his friends study in Defense Against the Dark Arts, they play no meaningful part in the story. The vampire myth is so rich and has been exploited so many times in literature and on film that I felt that there was little I could add to the tradition. In any case, vampires are a tradition of Eastern Europe, and in general I tried to draw from British mythology and folklore when creating adversaries for Harry. Aside from passing mentions, therefore, the only vampire whom Harry meets in the books is Sanguini in Half-Blood Prince, who makes a faintly comic appearance at a party. But I'm not completely buying this. Here's why I think that Severus Snape makes the perfect vampire, and why I think that his character possesses many of the defining characteristics of a vampire. A vampire is defined as a creature from folklore that subsists by feeding on the vital essence, generally in the form of blood, of the living. But there's more to a vampire than drinking blood in order to survive. Let's look at some of the defining characteristics of a vampire and how they relate to Snape. The first major characteristic of a vampire that I want to touch on is avoiding sunlight. It's well known that vampires, like some animals, avoid light. They have a tendency to inhabit dark conditions, and some spend their lives in permanent darkness. This describes Snape quite well. Snape's office in the dungeons of Hogwarts is described as follows. The office was a gloomy and dimly lit room found in the school dungeons. The shadowy walls were lined with shelves of large glass jars, filled with slimy, revolting things, such as bits of animals and plants, floating in potions of varying colors. Snape's office is perhaps the darkest and eeriest of all of the offices belonging to Hogwarts staff, and the dimly lit, gloomy room in the dungeons of the school seems like the perfect place for one type of creature, a vampire. And yes, we have seen Severus Snape in direct sunlight on occasion, but he might have figured out a way to spend time in sunlight, as we know that he is an incredibly talented wizard and excellent potioneer. Next up, we have heightened senses. Vampires are said to have heightened vision, hearing, and sense of smell. Though I don't have too many specific examples of Snape exhibiting super heightened senses, he does seem to have a bit of a habit of making an appearance whenever students are breaking rules, wandering out of their common rooms when they shouldn't be, or meddling in matters that do not relate to them. Sure, he's always lurking around the castle at night, but he also seems to be particularly aware of what's happening at the castle at all times. If you can recall the night that Harry wandered into the restricted section of the library with his invisibility cloak, you'll remember that he bumped into Snape and Quirrell. Even though Harry was under the invisibility cloak, an extremely advanced magical artifact, Snape still had a strong intuition that someone was there. This was shown by him reaching into the air. I think that this is a reflection of his, perhaps, heightened senses. Next up, we have morphing, or in the Harry Potter world, transfiguration. Vampires are said to have the ability to morph into another form, like a bat, often behind the shroud of a cloak. After morphing, they disappear, creating the illusion that they have vanished, flying away from their aggressor. On one occasion, Snape does exactly this. In the Deathly Hallows, we see Snape jump from the tower of the Hogwarts castle. The following passage depicts Snape flying in front of McGonagall, Harry, and some of the students. "He jumped," said Professor McGonagall. "You mean he's dead?" Harry sprinted to the window. "No, he's not dead," said McGonagall. What this passage suggests is that Snape flew away. J.K. Rowling is reported to have stated that all wizards have the power of flight innately, but that the vast majority need a broom to achieve it. In Voldemort's case, he was so focused and powerful that he was able to channel the power to fly unsupported, harnessing the energy through himself rather than through a broom. Maybe Snape did the same, but I really think that he achieved it in another way. Going back to the first passage where Snape jumps from the Hogwarts tower, there's one line that really piqued my interest. I think that it could shed some light on his method of flying. Harry saw a huge, bat-like shape flying through the darkness. As far as the books are concerned, when Voldemort uses unsupported flight, he maintains his original form. So what's this bat-like shape? Why would Snape resemble a bat? My answer? Snape's a vampire. If you aren't sold on that theory, then another explanation for the bat-like shape could be that he was A, an animagus, or B, used transfiguration to turn his arms into wings. Snape was a gifted wizard, and he was once the student of Horace Slughorn, who was known to be talented at transfiguration. This would not have been out of the question for him to achieve. And last of all, just look at Snape. Now, let's compare him to a couple of vampires. Not sold yet? Fair enough. this is just an idea. What do you guys think? Was Snape a vampire, an unregistered animagus, a talented practitioner of transfiguration, or an expert at unsupported flight? Let me know down in the comment section below. Until next time, you're Wizard Harry!